Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Stanley County Board of Commissioners to order. Welcome to those that are in attendance, and I will go ahead and ask Commissioner Allman for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for another day. Lord, thank you for letting us be here. Thank you for the attendees here, God. Father, I lift up our county to you and my fellow commissioners. I pray that the decisions we make tonight be glorified in your name and that we honor you in all the decisions we make. Give us wisdom and discernment. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Allman. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? Not, we'll seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion from Commissioner Allman, a second from Commissioner Morgan, I believe. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 1 on tonight's agenda will be a resolution to authorize the sale of the Home Health Agency. Presenter, Ms. Erin Roberts.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you and your fellow commissioners for the opportunity to discuss the resolution approving the sale of the county's home health agency with you tonight. As you know, during its regular meeting on August 10th, the board adopted a resolution of intent to sell the agency and directed Clifton Larson Allen to send out an offering memorandum and request for proposals to entities interested in receiving the offering memorandum. The county received 3 proposals in connection with the sale, and one of those included a proposal from ResCare, Inc., which does business as Bright Spring Health Services, which is submitted on behalf of itself and its affiliates. I'll refer to this entity throughout this presentation as Bright Spring. On October 19th, 2020, the board held a public hearing on the proposals, after which it voted to move forward with negotiations with Bright Spring. Over the last several weeks, the county's team has worked tirelessly to provide Bright Spring with access to information so that Bright Spring could conduct and conclude its due diligence. We have simultaneously negotiated the terms of an asset purchase agreement with Adoration Home Health Care Virginia, which is a Bright Spring affiliate, which will purchase substantially all of the assets utilized in the operation of the home health agency. While the full terms of the asset purchase agreement, along with ancillary transaction documents, are in your packet, I think it's important to highlight the following items. The purchase price for the transaction is $3.3 million, and the county is entitled to keep all accounts receivable for services rendered prior to the closing date. $330,000 will be placed in a restricted fund account to secure the county's indemnification obligations, and these funds will need to be set aside for 3 years. After 18 months, $185,000 needs to remain in the account, but anything that hasn't been utilized can be swept over to the county's main operating account. The purchaser will utilize the current home health office. The lease term is set for 1 full year with the ability to terminate early once the tie-in notice, which is the approval to transition the Medicare number, is received. And just to clarify, Bright Spring, when it moves the agency, will have to maintain that office here in Stanley County. Also, the asset purchase agreement includes a number of important terms, and in fact, the purchaser is obligated to do the following: to provide the same or similar services that the county provided prior to the closing to individuals in need of such services, to ensure indigent care is available to the population of the service area, to not enact financial admission policies that have the effect of denying important health care to your constituents, to ensure that services are available to both Medicare and Medicaid patients without discrimination, and to provide an annual report to you all as commissioners to ensure that they're meeting the requirements set forth in the asset purchase agreement. I also would like to point out that Bright Spring, as of this morning, has approved the transaction with the county and the terms of the asset purchase agreement included in your commissioner's packet. Mr. Chairman, do you need me to read through the specific resolution, or are there any other questions that I can answer for you?
Are there any questions from board members?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple. Our current patients or their families, have they been contacted about this sale and given a comfort level that things are going to be okay?
Sir, it's standard in these transactions that you would approve an asset purchase agreement, and there's a provision in the North Carolina regulations that requires us at least 30 days prior to closing the transaction to notify all patients. What we would do in connection with the transaction is we would send out a joint notification that we compose with Bright Spring, and that communication would go out after the asset purchase agreement is signed.
Any other questions?
Indigent care, who determines the amount of indigent care?
The North Carolina General Statute, specifically North Carolina General Statute 131E13D, requires, and there's provisions in the asset purchase agreement that talk about, we as a mark, look at what the county has historically provided, and they will have to ensure that at least that level of indigent care continues into the future. Also, the annual report that I mentioned, I think that's critically important for this board to monitor, that year after year, that annual report should come in so that you collectively, with the purchaser, should look at, okay, what indigent care has been provided in our community? Do we feel as though the purchaser is meeting its obligations? And if not, there's even a reversionary provision in the asset purchase agreement that would return the assets of the agency back to the county. Certainly.
Any other questions for Ms. Roberts? Not, how would the board like to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Morgan?
I move we approve the resolution of sale and authorize chairman and county manager to execute on behalf of the county.
A motion to approve the resolution and authorize the chairman and county manager to execute on behalf of the county a final version of this purchase agreement. Is there a second? A second from Commissioner Furr, I believe. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 2 on tonight's agenda is a resolution to accept NCDEQ loan for the West Stanley wastewater treatment plant for 1.2 million gallons per day, an upgrade project. Mr. Dwayne Wingo.
Thank you, Commissioners. Stanley County has received approval from the North Carolina Local Government Commission to enter into a state revolving loan agreement with the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. This is to fund the construction of the West Stanley wastewater treatment plant 1.2 million gallon per day upgrade project. The NCDEQ loan is in the amount of $7,332,819. This project is necessary to accommodate further residential, commercial, and industrial development in the West Stanley Sewer District service area, as well as adhere to NCDEQ regulations pertaining to the West Stanley wastewater treatment plant's discharge permit. Staff recommends approval of the resolution to accept the NCDEQ state revolving loan for the construction of the West Stanley WWTP 1.2 million gallons per day upgrade project.
Thank you, Mr. Wingo. Are there any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Mr. Long.
Mr. Wingo, what are the terms and the rate on this particular loan?
The rate is 0% and the term is 20 years.
It's a great rate.
Yes, it is.
Any other questions? Staff has recommended approval of the resolution. What's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the resolution as presented.
A motion from Commissioner Lawhon to approve the resolution and accept NCDEQ state revolving loan. And a second from Commissioner Jordan. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 3 on tonight's agenda is a public hearing and resolution to apply for a CDBG grant for the town of Baden sewer collection system. Again, Mr. Wingo.
Thank you. Stanley County Utilities is seeking Board of Commissioner approval to apply for a CDBG grant application to conduct an engineering analysis for the town of Baden sewer collection system. If the grant application is approved by CDBG and accepted by the board, we would contract with an engineering design firm to complete the analysis of the sewer collection system and then issue design drawings and ultimately a construction contract to bid the project. The purpose of the project is to reduce inflow and infiltration into the sewer collection system and increase the useful life of the infrastructure. As required by CDBG application process, I am to read a memorandum requesting the Board of Commissioners conduct a public hearing for the project. After the public hearing is completed, I will present a resolution to the Board of Commissioners for consideration to apply for the CDBG grant. A map of the work area is enclosed or is provided with the package you have. If the resolution to apply for the CDBG grant is approved by the Board of Commissioners, I will read a second memorandum for an amended citizens participation plan. There is no public hearing required for the citizen participation plan. After that has been read, I will present a second resolution to the Board of Commissioners to approve the amended citizens participation plan. I've been told by my engineering firm, or the engineering firm working for us, Wooten, the Wooten Company, that I need to read the first 3.5 pages of the memorandum and only the first page of the citizens participation plan. You have both memorandum. I'm going to apologize in advance because this is going to be a bit long, but I do have to read it for your consideration. Okay. The first part is general information about CDBG. This will be a required public hearing for the fiscal year 2020-21 North Carolina Small Cities Community Development Block Grant, CDBGD, in order to submit applications for funding. The purpose of the public hearing is to allow residents and citizens an opportunity to express views concerning community development priorities, available funds, and eligible activities, and review of program compliance prior to the project-specific application to the state administering agencies. This federal funding comes from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, U.S. HUD. The CDBG program's activities must meet one of the national objectives. Number 1, low and moderate income persons, LMI. Number 2, prevent or eliminate slum and blight. Number 3, address an urgent need. Eligible locations or non-entitlement communities. It is noted all NC cities except the 24 entitlement municipalities are part of that. All NC counties except Cumberland, Mecklenburg, Union, and Wake. The state receives approximately $40 to $46 million each year for CDBG ED, CDBG NR, and CDBGI funding. The CDGB program can fund a wide variety of community development activities. The state has chosen to fund several activities, including water and sewer infrastructure, neighborhood revitalization, economic development, and special allocations for disasters such as hurricane recovery and COVID-19. The available funding in North Carolina for fiscal year 2020 and 2021 are economic development, administered by the Department of Commerce, DOC, the Rural Economic Development Division, REDD, and approximately 10 to 12 million is available annually for projects focused on job retention and creation. Grants are presented by the REDD and the NC Rural Infrastructure Authority for approval. The other ones are neighborhood revitalization, administered by REDD, approximately 10 to 12 million available annually for projects focused on LMI housing-related activities. The grants are presented by REDD to the NC Rural Infrastructure Authority for approval. Another one is coronavirus, administered by REDD. Approximately $27 million is available for projects to help communities respond to and recover from the health and economic impacts of COVID-19. Projects must meet both urgent need and LMI CDBG national objectives. Grants are presented by the REDD to the NC Rural Infrastructure Authority for approval. Disaster and recovery mitigation, administered by the NC Department of Public Safety, DPS, and the Office of Recovery and Resiliency, NCORE, to handle all funds received for recovery from hurricane disasters. Finally, there's infrastructure, administered by the NC Department of Environmental Quality, NC DEQ, Division of Water Infrastructure, DWI, and approximately 21 to 26 million is available annually for projects focused on water and sewer for LMI residents. Grants are presented by DEQ DWI to the State Water Infrastructure Authority, SWIA, for approval. Infrastructure funding, CDBGI. Stanley County is applying for a DWI CDBG infrastructure grant to fund projects for the town of Baden. Approximately $25.2 million is available for fiscal year 2020 funding. The application deadline is Monday, November 23rd, 2020 at 5 p.m. This is the only application round for funding. Awards in fiscal year 2020 are contingent upon the state receiving HUD grant anticipated after finalization of the state's budget. Projects are competitive and should be announced in the spring of 2021. Applicants can request and receive up to $2 million over 3 years, consistent with the North Carolina General Statute 159G and the SWIA rules. The purposes of the CDBGI program are: meet local and community housing development needs by improving quality of life for LMI persons by providing a safe, clean environment and clean drinking water through the water and sewer infrastructure improvements and service extensions. They must benefit residential areas where at least 51% of the beneficiaries are LMI as defined by HUD. They must perform activities eligible under federal guidelines and regulations. They must minimize the displacement and provide displacement assistance as necessary. Water projects can include, but are not limited to, resolving water loss in distribution systems, extending public water to areas with contaminated wells, extending water lines to areas with dry wells, assisting with low water pressure in public water systems, regionalization of 2 or more water systems, rehabilitation or replacement of a water treatment plant. Wastewater projects can include, but are not limited to, resolving inflow and infiltration to collection systems and surcharges for pump stations and manholes, extending public sewer to areas with failed septic tanks, rehabilitation of a wastewater treatment plant to allow for greater efficiency and compliance with regulation. Our proposed project is as follows. It is proposed for the county to request up to $2 million or up to 100% of the total project cost for a sewer project. Only residential areas can be served by CDBG funding. Floodway areas can be served if directional drilling is conducted. A total of 100% of the CDBGI funds will be used to assist LMI residents. Stanley County has an area-wide LMI of 39.43% presently, but the town of Baden has an area-wide LMI percent of 53.21%, which is above the minimum required of 51%. Based on Google Street Views and local knowledge of the utility customer data, it is likely that the targeted area LMI is higher. Income surveys were mailed to targeted project area residents and made available online. Door-to-door surveys and phone surveys were also completed. Residents could also complete by mail, phone, online, drop off at Baden Town Hall, drop off at the Stanley County Utilities in Albemarle, or be completed face-to-face. Unfortunately, at this moment, less than the minimum required of 75% response was achieved. Preliminary project information was submitted to DWI in August of 2020. DWI is allowing the county to utilize the town's area-wide LMI of 53.21% in the application if not enough survey information is achieved by the application deadline. The purpose of the county's request is to address old and deteriorated gravity sewer lines in the western portion of the town of Baden. These were installed over 40 years ago and have operated beyond the recommended service life. The proposed project includes closed-circuit television, CCTV, and rehabilitation or replacement of up to 11,100 linear feet of 8-inch gravity sewer line, along with associated manhole replacements, public sewer service reconnections, asphalt repair, bypass pumping, and point repairs. Project areas to be served may include portions of Lincoln, Mayo, Washington, Sumter, Jackson, Grant, Sherman, Dewey, Roosevelt, Wood, Stewart, and Marion streets in the areas zoned as residential. Final streets or residential areas to be served will depend on the degree of the sewer line deterioration based on CCTV survey and the LMI benefit. Correcting known deficiencies in the sewer collection system will reduce inflow and infiltration, lessen excessive influent flow to the county's wastewater treatment system and treatment plant, and reduce the likelihood of sanitary sewer overflows and system violations that increase the risks to the public and environmental health. The project activities are identified based on local knowledge of the system issues. In the past couple of years, Stanley County has received several notice of violations in the Greater Baden Sewer Collection System and wastewater treatment plant regarding high inflow and infiltration causing sanitary sewer overflows. Grant funding includes the cost of construction, environmental review, engineering reporting and design, construction administration and observation, legal activities, surveying, and grant administration. Post-award, the county will contract with an experienced engineer as well as a CDBG grant administrator to consult and provide technical assistance throughout the project. CDBG performance and requirements. A formal public hearing must be held for every CDBG grant application to inform residents and citizens of the potential projects and obtain feedback. Stanley County has received CDBG grants in the past, namely scattered site housing rehabilitation, with no recent compliance issues or no known complaints reported. If awarded a CDBG grant, plan and policies required by U.S. HUD will be adopted that will govern fiscal management, efficient operation, and maintenance and program compliance. These shall include American with Disabilities Act, Section 504, American with Disabilities Act, Section 504, which is a plan to address non-discrimination in the treatment of and program access to handicapped or disabled persons. Fair labor standards in accordance with the U.S. Department of Labor and the Davis-Bacon and related acts. Citizens' participation in and access to program information and implementation. Equal opportunity and procurement through program implementation. Fair housing plan to affirm further fair housing. Language access plan to provide meaningful access to those with limited English proficiency. Section 3 plan to encourage job creation for local low-income persons. Section 519 provision to prohibit the use of excessive force by law enforcement agencies within the jurisdiction against any individuals engaged in a nonviolent civil rights demonstration. Residential anti-displacement and relocation plan to ensure that no displacement or relocation of residents occurs during the project implementation without public notification and just compensation. The DWI template for CDBGI infrastructure program is presented as an example. If awarded the plan, it will be updated for adoption with other required plans and policies. Anti-displacement and relocation is primarily applicable to housing-related projects. However, acquisition of public utility easements on private property could also trigger the Uniform Relocation Act. No displacements of residents are anticipated during this infrastructure project. However, water and sewer service may be disrupted at times. The residents will be notified of any disruptions in service during the project implementation. Displacement assistance will be available as needed. Citizens' comments. Application materials will be available at the Stanley County Commons located at 1000 North 1st Street, Albemarle, North Carolina, 28001, upon request between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. A full application will be available for review after November 23, 2020, and access may be limited due to the coronavirus. For additional information or to submit written comments, please contact Dwayne Wingo, the Utilities Director at 1000 North 1st Street, Albemarle, North Carolina, or by email at dwingo@stanleycountync.gov or by phone at 704-986-3686, or by TDD at 1-800-735-2962, or relay NC 711. Comments should be postmarked no later than Wednesday, November 18th, 2020, and a written response will be made within 10 business days where practical. Okay, we will have one resolution that is associated in submitting the CDBG grant application for the county to delegate authority to persons to complete the application documents that do not otherwise require board action. A second resolution will be presented to adopt an amended citizens participation plan. The amended plan includes special provisions for emergency situations such as coronavirus, public notices from 10 to 5 days in advance of public hearing, options for virtual assistance, outreach procedures in lieu of newspaper applications. This information is available in Spanish, in the Spanish language upon request. Please contact the county manager's office at 704-986-3600 or at 1000 North First Street, Albemarle, North Carolina for accommodations for this request. At this time, I would request Chairman Swain open up the board for a public hearing if he desires to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Wingo. In accordance with the memo and CDBG grant application, I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anybody here to speak for the grant application? Is there anybody here to speak against the grant application? Last call for or against? Declare this public hearing closed. Now we move on to the first resolution.
Well, yeah, you move on the first resolution. Yes, sir.
Get back to it. County staff has recommended the approval of the CDBG grant application resolution. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Allman. Is there a second? A second from Commissioner Barbie. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the resolution for grant application, please say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. I think that takes us back to you, Mr. Wingo.
Yes, sir. The second part is the citizens participation plan. This is also a very lengthy memo, but we only have to read the first page, so we're almost done. The purpose of this memo is to present an amended citizens participation plan for the 2020-21 Community Development Block Grant CDBG program funding years being presented for adoption. This plan is designed to meet requirements for the participation in the 2020-2021 CDBG programs administered by the following state agencies. The only one really applicable here would be Infrastructure CDBG-I, and that is administered by the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, Division of Water Infrastructure, DWI. The plan ensures that citizens will be provided adequate opportunity for meaningful involvement on a continuing basis and for participation in planning, implementing, and assessing the CDBG programs. The plan contains subjects as objectives of the plan: public hearing details, program accessibility, citizens' access to records, timely information and submission of views and proposals, and response to proposals and complaints. The plan also includes special provisions for emergency situations such as the coronavirus, and for public notices from 10 to 5 days in advance of public hearings, and for options for virtual attendance and outreach procedures in lieu of newspaper publications. In the adoption of the resolution, the county designates the following persons or successors so titled as citizen participation coordinators and to accept comments from the public regarding the CDBG program. The coordinators will be Andy Lucas, County Manager, and Dwayne Wingo, Utilities Director. So at this time, I would like to request from staff that you adopt the resolution for this amended citizens participation plan.
Thank you, Mr. Wingo. Recommendation from staff to approve the citizens' participation resolution. What's the pleasure of the board? A motion from Commissioner Jordan to accept that resolution. and approve the amended citizen participation plan. Is there a second? A second from Commissioner Furr. Is there any discussion on that? Yes, sir.
I stuttered. Very glad you got to read that.
I saw Debbie Bennett and I thought she was coming up to read it, to be honest.
I wished.
I wanted her back one more time, but didn't happen. All right, there is a motion and a second to approve the amended citizen participation plan. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Wingo.
Thank you.
That brings us to item 4, which is a consent agenda. Any changes to the consent agenda? A motion to approve the consent agenda from Commissioner Morgan. Is there a second? A second from Commissioner Allman. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. I'll open up the floor for public comment at this time. I have 2 folks signed up. Mr. Presley, Leighton Presley, is the first one I have on my list. Mr. Presley, I'll just remind you, public comment's open for 3 minutes each.
Yes, it's going to be very short and sweet.
All right, thanks, sir.
I own Presley Aviation over at the Stanley County Airport. Well, I've been there since 2012. It's just been a joy to work with the county as far as doing the aviation and everything. What I'm trying to do is see about making a change on the Stanley County Airport policy for maintenance procedures done at the airport. As a flight school, I need maintenance to be able to do work on my own personal aircraft for the flight school. I don't really want to do it for everybody else, it's just me. But in the policy that Stanley County has, you have to be a 145 or a repair station for everybody, okay? That entires a whole different certification through the FAA and through everything else as far as that goes. I can do anybody with an AMP certificate, or a license that would work on nobody but my airplanes without having to put that liability out there. So I'm just looking to see if we can go ahead, if we can work towards getting a amendment to that policy where I can get a mechanic at the airport to work on my airplanes. There is a mechanic on the field. He does a great job, good thing, but he is actually not on the airport property, okay? I think everybody knows that, okay? So that means there's actually nobody on the airport, okay? So we have to go everywhere else to get our maintenance done when certain aircraft come in, such as King Airs and other, and I understand that, okay, but it sure does put a bind on us. So I'd like to hire 1, maybe 2 mechanics, put on my payroll to be able to keep my airplanes going for my students and everything like that. So being that we are 141 certified as a flight school, we are VA approved. We do take NCTAP, and we have recently become Liberty University affiliated, where you can get your associate's or bachelor's degree in aviation through Presley Aviation at Stanley County Airport. This is a great thing, okay? So to keep up with this, instead of me having to ferry airplanes to South Carolina, Lincolnton, other places to do maintenance, I need to have a little bit of leeway on that. If I could get the board's process just to think about that and see what we could, what the next step would be, I would appreciate it. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Presley, and we'll take that under advisement.
Thank
And I'm
you.
sure the airport board can make some sort of recommendation to the commissioners moving forward.
Likely it's an airport authority decision, it's actually not something that you all.
Okay, so it may be, what we're being told is it may potentially be an airport authority decision that the commissioners don't even have a say in, but we'll take it under advisement and figure everything out for you. Thank you. I have another name, Tim McLeod, I believe.
Yes, sir, that's not needed. I didn't know what I signed up there for.
Okay,
But I'll be glad to talk to you if you need me to.
it's up to you. We'll listen.
No, sir, I'm good.
All right.
Thank you, though.
We appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to board comments. I'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Lawhon. Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody else that would like to speak? You're more than welcome. Come on up. I usually ask. I don't know why I didn't tonight.
Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm actually here to talk about the solar project that I think is coming up for review. This project has been sort of in limbo for a number of months, maybe a year. And first, I'd like to put in perspective what the county has done with the Charlotte Pipe installation is just wonderful. It bringing good jobs, high-paying jobs with lots of economic opportunity. Actually, the Charlotte Pipe is exemplary of what we should be doing in this county to add to the environment that we have. There are many operations, there are many opportunities that are out there, but in this particular solar farm, there is no job opportunities. People are going to come in, install it, and leave, and nobody's going to be resident in the county. The maintenance people are going to come in on occasion. There's not going to be any economic opportunity or advancement. To add insult to injury, the solar panels are going to be made in China, so we don't even help the United States. So I would like to say that the solar project, I believe in solar. I think solar is a good thing. But I have a problem with is that we are taking farm and rural and nature resources and putting it to use for a solar farm. What I'd rather see us do is take other assets that are being idle. We have a plant out in Baden, the old aluminum factory. We have places all around the county that could be used for solar farms that are already zoned industrial, already zoned commercial, and we don't have to take pristine farmland or rural land. We have, other than the owner leasing that land, I don't know why the solar farm is where it's proposed to be. Those same exact lines, high power lines that are supposed to come through there, go right to the Concord pipe mill that's going to be put in. Why don't we take that solar farm and take a small part of that operation and move the solar farm there? It's industrial. It doesn't take away from the country. There are many other projects that we could look at, but I just want to summarize here. I know I'm taking a little bit longer time. Let's not take our pristine land and use it for something that is really not going to benefit economically other than the people that invest in it. We know we like solar technology. Let's use it where it can be used and not a operation that invades the countryside. So with that, I'll ask you to, when this comes up, please vote no to this project where it is and vote yes and ask them to come back with a proposal using existing zoned, industrial zoned areas and non-country or farmland. Thank you.
Can I get your name for the record?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's Bill Wiseman, W-I-S-E-M-A-N. And I'm out of Big Lick Township, number 1.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else to speak tonight on public comment? All right, now we'll go to commissioner comment. Again, Commissioner Lawhon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to take a minute and thank Commissioner Morgan and Commissioner Swain for the duty that you served as a commissioner and serving the citizens of Stanley County.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawhon. Commissioner Jordan.
Nothing for me except to echo the same. It's been nice to work with you guys. Great to see you guys.
Commissioner Barbie.
I'm the same way. I hate to see you guys go. You've been very good to work with, and I appreciate the guidance.
We'll go to Commissioner Furr.
Basically, it's ditto everything that they've said, other than the fact that 2 years ago I come on as a green person that didn't know anything about this. As far as being able to do what we do, and I really feel like that I have got a friend out of both of you. It's more than being someone that I have worked with. It's been my honor, but I really and truly think I've got a friend between the two. Thank you.
Mr. Ullman.
Just like to thank you both for serving and all the insight that Ashley, especially on the airport board when they're talking Chinese, and Matt with his ag experience. Just thank y'all for what y'all bring to the board and to the county, and I appreciate all you've done for Stanley County.
Commissioner Morgan.
Wow, 4 years has flown by. I can remember being, like Lane was saying, green when we first got up here. My heart's about to pump out in my chest. The first meeting I ever did. It's been a pleasure. Thank y'all for all the nice comments. It's been a pleasure to work with both previous board and board members we're serving right now. Thank you to all the staff. We've got the best staff in this state. They work tirelessly for our county. Thanks to my family and supporters who've supported me all along. It's been my pleasure to serve the residents of this county. And I can say that I'm leaving this county in a lot better shape than when I first got here. So I did what I wanted to do, and it's been a pleasure. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Commissioner Morgan. I would like to thank you all for the comments. It has been an honor to serve as a county commissioner the past 4 years. And I echo Commissioner Morgan's comment about leaving Stanley County in a better place than when we came. And I think that's the goal of anybody that runs for public office. I had the honor to work with 2 years with a previous board, and one of those members that I enjoyed working with is actually coming back to take my seat. And I couldn't think of anybody else better to take that seat. The past 4 years, I want to put a few numbers to it. The past 4 years on the board, Stanley County has added over 550 jobs to Stanley County. That's the conglomeration of two boards, and we've seen more than $350 million in capital investment. That's investment that we didn't have to go out and raise people's property tax for. That's investment that we can put in some of these water lines that Mr. Wingo advocates for the citizens. That's good investment for the county. That's good investment for every citizen. I have enjoyed my time. I'm not saying I'm done with it. I love it. I left on my own terms because my children are 4 and 5. My wife, a little anecdotal story, my wife, before we started this meeting, conned Commissioner Jordan into taking our first day meeting picture with my 4-year-old and my last day meeting picture with my 4-year-old that looks like he's already half grown. So, I think my first meeting, my son was 5 months old maybe. So, and now he's 4.5. So that's what I'm going to do. And I would like to get back, and I'll probably try and come back sometime in the future when they get older. But I appreciate the citizens of Stanley County supporting me. I appreciate this board, and I count every one of you a good friend. If you pick up the phone and call and need something, I'll be happy to do for you. I'll be happy to advocate for you, anybody up here. And I appreciate that. Are there any other comments? If not, we'll seek a motion to adjourn. Motion from Commissioner Morgan. Is there a second? A second from Commissioner Jordan. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. We'll stand adjourned.